Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome to this week's training webinar. I am really excited to be here with you. And today we have DoDeals.com's leading business coach, real estate business coach with us, Dan Nichols. And Dan and I are going to talk about, how to get unstuck from from whatever you're stuck with right now, so that way you can kick off your business, start doing deals, start making money on deals. And also, if you have been doing deals, but you just haven't gotten to where you're able to do deals consistently, month in and month out, and week after week, is Dan's going to teach you that and share with you about that today. How to get unstuck from that ceiling that that you have reached, or just getting unstuck from haven't even been able to take action, haven't even been able to get things going. And so Dan's going to address that today and help you with that. And so I'm really excited about it because this is an extremely important topic, especially for today's market, today's economy and real estate market, because the truth of the matter is, the reason why our economy is in what it is today, it's not the government, it's not the mortgage company that loan out all of that money. It's not any of that. It's because a lot of people are afraid, and part of that being afraid, they put themselves in a situation where they are stuck in that mode of operation. Because if each one of us just get unstuck, each one of us do our thing, go out there and make money, I guarantee you the economy is going to come back in no time at all. And so this topic is extremely, is extremely timely and and important to help all of you guys get get unstuck and start making money and start to revive our economy right now. And so, without further ado, let's welcome Dan Nichols. Yay!
Hey, can't see us clapping this time, Tim, but I'm excited to be here, everybody. As Tim just shared, a big piece of who I am is as the lead tactical advisor, the lead business coach and consultant here with DoDeals is to help you guys move forward. And Tim really kind of helped me get unstuck recently because I get my head so wrapped around the psychology of why people are stuck that sometimes, I miss the other side of me that's also strong, which is the tactical side. Like, what is it? What are the 3 things you need to do right now to go out and do? Which is, pick up the open up the Craigslist on your computer. They already say pick up the Craigslist. It's not a newspaper. But, turn on Craigslist, start calling sellers, make some offers, so those are like some of the easy, simple steps in that way. But I know a lot of you are sitting at home right now, sitting at your office, wherever it is, and you're thinking, why do I find it so hard to pick up the phone? There's this part that everybody says, oh, just go do it, or make it happen. Well, that's all well and good, but some people are able to make some things happen, and some people really can make very little happen. They find themselves just totally stuck. And we all have degrees of how far we can make things happen. I mean, whether you're Donald Trump or David Doolittle, there's still this everybody's got different degrees, So I'm hoping that I can just help the newbies to buy their first property, and some of you that maybe have 2, 3, 4, 5 properties to move past that and maybe get to where you want to go. Maybe you want to own an apartment complex. Whatever it is, I want to help you to I want to unpackage and go under the hood of your psychology to help you see where it is you're holding yourself back. So I'm going to move on to the next slide here. And
now, real quick, Dan, as you move on to okay, all right, it went away, so that's awesome. Okay. I was just going to say because we're able to see your bottom and my bottom, but yeah, we're good.
All right, cool. So just a little housekeeping piece here. Be sure your speakers are on. If you are looking at these slides and hearing no audio, that's why. Prepare for about 70 minutes of time. I like to say that. Turn off your phone, shut down your email, stop tweeting, stop Facebooking. Those are all habits, and we're going to address those as to whether or not they're productive to you or not. And let's all be here for this webinar, truly. In the way that some of you will stop by Starbucks to grab yourself a coffee, this is a gift for you. This is self-gifting. Just go ahead and revel in it a little bit and enjoy it, because this is a gift for you, what I'm about to share. This webinar will change your life, and the reason it'll change your life is because you're going to find out what's been holding you back from growing or starting your business, changing careers, getting healthy, and living a life with more say. As I was talking to Tim before we started this call, it's inextricable. I don't care what the endeavor is. If you don't have your head straight as you go to approach it or get involved in it, it doesn't happen. And it doesn't work the other way around. You don't become the multimillionaire in real estate and then worry about getting your psychology ready to grow a business. It's always the one way and then the other. In other words, it's always getting your mind straight and then moving forward with the business. You'll find out why a child influences your decisions and how you can change that. Just a real quick, one time I was doing a webinar and the guy said, hey man, there was just nothing about you. So I'm going to speed through these next several slides, but that's my mom there. That's something from the 70s there. You can tell by the cool pants I'm wearing. My dad drove a high-low, mid-America, just north of Detroit. Grew up in Royal Oak, Michigan. And my mom always, this next slide shows some of the influences in my life. My mom would buy me these shirts. One of them there on the lower left says, one of a kind. And then the other shirt there in the middle, it says, ever ready. And my mom would always try to influence me positively because, truth be told, my dad was a pretty negative guy, and I think my mom sought to inoculate me against that. Later in life, as I got into my early teens, I got into Les Brown and Zig Ziglar. Loved baseball. There I am, a winning pitcher for an all-star game, and wanted to be a rock guitarist. Wanted to be a singer, heavy metal singer. Neither of those worked out. Later in life, I got really turned on, probably around 13 or 14 years old, by Dave Delgado, and then eventually into Donald Trump, The Art of the Deal, first book I read on real estate. Dave Delgado was arguably one of the first real estate infomercial guys. Working, there I am, some of my early years there. I was a caddy at a golf course, and then right out of high school, I started a lawn maintenance business. There I am with I'm not going to call it a mullet, but it probably was. And then as a disc jockey and a corporate DJ, and later into game shows. I'm in an auto show there doing a game show, and this was all while I was studying real estate and or buying real estate. I did all these things kind of in tandem. Lower left-hand corner there doing an auto show. Love public speaking and presenting. Had a dating service that I started while I was at the University of Michigan, and that was really just because I wanted to meet women, and I figured it was the easiest way to do it. I'll just start a dating service. Bought and rehabbed ugly houses in Detroit. Those are just a few of them there. So just kind of going through that. Authored a couple of programs on strategic planning of business. One I call Lemonade Stand Simple, and that's because I feel like people overcomplicate the starting of a business. They want to put all these things in front of them as obstacles before they'll actually move forward and do it. So I really break it down with Lemonade Stand Simple and guide you through with a virtual audio and actually walk you through, coach you through the whole process of planning out your business. Doesn't matter what kind of business it is. I'm assuming in this case it's real estate because you're tuned into this. But anyway, so there's that. And then what was once 8 Degrees of Separation, I've renamed to Getting Unstuck because I was stuck around the title 8 Degrees. It was entirely too complicated. The nuts and bolts of it is getting unstuck. Entrepreneurially, just another one of my endeavors here. I do sell retail, this CD, this DVD set, 2 of them there. It's called Armed Consumer, and I interviewed 23 contractors in 17 different fields about what you need to know before you bring a contractor into your home, whether it's a plumber, electrician, roofer, cider, whatever it is. I get the inside scoop from all these guys. So that's just kind of a real quickie about me and some of the things that I do and what I'm up to. I love the process of entrepreneurship. But I'm going to just flip on to the next slide here. I'll go to ready to dig in. Fear and doubt. I'm going to tell everybody right now, you will face it. I don't care who you are. Let me refer back to Donald Trump. He feels it too. Everybody feels it. And it's the degree to which you let it rule your life that matters. You're going to face it from time to time no matter what you read, hear, or see. Don't let anybody ever tell you you can conquer fear or doubt forever because that isn't the case. You're a human being. You're going to be subject to some of these things. Recognizing it. And what I mean by that, and that's the critical first piece to seeing the choice in living a fear and doubt-filtered reality or one based in what actually is. And what I mean by it is the fact that much of what you think is not accurate. In fact, much of what you feel is based on experiences that you had at various points in your life, most of which were before the age of 6 or 7. As psychologists will tell you, our major life experiences that influence who we are and where we go and what we do are usually wrapped up by well before the age of 6 or 7. And then we certainly have other landmark moments from time to time, from 6 or 7 forward, but those are big pieces of who you are. And you need to be aware of that because that's part of being conscious and living consciously. And, you know, at the age of 6 or 7, 4 or 5, whenever those judgments were made, you probably weren't very well equipped to make great decisions. You know, you just thought that's the way it was. And also, one of the things that I want to do is I want to talk about the distinction between motivation and revelation. Motivation lights the bulb. Like, you know, you listen to certain music, it really gets you pumped up, it lights the bulb. You hear a speaker, pumps you up, it lights the bulb. You hear a quote, it lights the bulb. Read a book, it lights the bulb. I like to be more like a revelational speaker. Why revelation? Because when things are revealed to you, they last for a lifetime. And like Zig Ziglar says, motivation, on the other hand, is more like bathing. You got to do it every day. And Zig was okay with that because that's what he talked on. But I always felt that motivation left me short. Tim, do you ever feel like reading a positive quote doesn't quite do it for you? You got to dig a little deeper? Oh, okay, he's not there. Hey, so he must be on another call. But the distinction between motivation and revelation, though, I think that's a big deal. Let me go on to the next slide. I bought my daughter an aquarium, and this is just my little story here around this. She asked me once, she said, Daddy, how come that guy can't get the treasure chest open? I told her it's because he hasn't figured out how to. And now notice I said he. It could be a she as well. So I just want to be, it's interesting how we can get into these little ways of thinking, right? So, and he or she is chained to the chest. I know it to be true that seeing things from a different point of view can often change how the world occurs to us, and therefore how we respond to it. I know that if that diver was just aware of a better way, a better strategy, that he or she could employ it and get the treasure that she was after, or he was after. I believe that all of us can live more abundant lives by seeing where we limit ourselves. To have things be different, we need to, by necessity, do things different, period. Doing comes as a result of our thinking, or better yet, our knowing. Thomas Edison didn't light the bulb by doing it the same way every time. He finally got the bulb to light and got it to sustain by doing it differently every single time. To have things be different, we need to, by necessity, do things different.
Yeah,
is the world
that is so true.
Yeah. Yep. So these are the dynamics of a webinar. Like, you know, aren't always sure when the other person is going to come in. So
my son Tyler, not Tyler, Austin was crying, so I had to step away for a little bit. I'm not sure if I missed any of your questions earlier.
I threw one at you, but that's cool, man. I know, no big deal. So the question is the world your oyster? I know what it means when somebody says that, because I had these moments of revelation where I was like, oh, where I get what it means when I hear the thing, is the world your oyster? I felt the feeling. It's a feeling that you have some control in your life over where you're headed, because you're beginning to see that you're the sponsor of your thoughts if you make the choice to be so. This is why I'm saying this is deeper than motivation. Okay, motivation would be me telling you, get up and do it. Not always enough to keep fanning the flames. I believed that what Jesus said when he said, for they know not what they do. I get that. I believe he shared that when he said, forgive them, Father, if they know not what they do, which is this thoughts in your head that lead so much of who you are and where you go, and that you don't even know about it. That's that conscious living versus not conscious living. Another ancient manuscript reveals a saying that enlightenment is the end of suffering. Enlightenment is when you see yourself as a creator, not a victim. Enlightenment is when you recognize your power inspired by greatness. Motivation, smile, and have a good attitude type of stuff is great, but as I shared earlier, my personal experience, and I'm sure yours too, tells me that sometimes it's just hard to do that. Sometimes when the bills are stacking up, or your spouse is upset with you, or your cousin or brother hasn't called you back in 5 weeks, or the dog just died, or whatever, it just seems impossible sometimes to smile and have a good attitude. I felt that before. I know that something's missing. And being a why guy, I want to know why. And that's what I'm going to share with you in here to follow, as to why we get stuck in these ruts. In the movie Matrix, Morpheus shares with Neo that he can live his life pretending, or he can see it for what it really is, that he can have his blinders removed and truly plug into living his true potential, no longer living the life defined by somebody else's vision. I want to ask you, do you ever feel like you're living in the Matrix, looking for a way to step beyond your current self? Are you prepared to take that step here in 2011? The step that takes you out of lack and into abundance. The steps that echo Fannie Lou Hamer, who said, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. So today I'm just going to say, on your behalf, I'm going to break your agreements with fear, doubt, and procrastination. No longer will you be under their spell. Hereforth today, you're going to be red pill aware of your self-sabotaging thinking. You're going to learn to live in abundance, not scarcity, and begin to understand what keeps us from making change, what keeps us stuck. Today I'm going to cover for you. I'll cover for you a handful of issues I call core stoppers to help you break free of limiting mindsets. And since this is a webinar, you can't say no to me. So I'm going to assume that everything's cool and I can move forward with this. I'm going to trust that you're going to say yes. So what I want you to do is just for a moment, I want you to take a short step with me and deeper into your success. Imagine for a moment that you're walking out of a cold swamp, a swamp filled with fear and doubt, and you're walking out of that swamp onto a sun-warmed rock of empowerment. This rock has been baked by the sun for millennia, and it's yours. You're standing in a place with firm footing, no longer in the swamp of fear and doubt, in a place with firm footing and in strength, not shifting around but solid. This rock has been warmed by the sun for ages. It's both comforting and it's solid. This is the new place from which you can view your life. You've just walked out of the swamp of fear and doubt and into your best self. Imagine that. Into your strength, and it feels right. You know it's right. This feeling of being empowered is the result of the truth of your mind's capacity to help you make the shift. And appreciate for a moment that imagination is more powerful than reality. After all, you've discovered already in life that much of what you thought was real wasn't. And much of what you imagine affected your life but never happened in reality. Now let me give you an example of how that applies to you as real estate investors. You worry that people are going to slam the door in your face or hang up the phone. And 99% of the time, they don't. But it keeps you from picking up the phone. You imagine that somebody's going to spit in your face and tear up the purchase agreement offer. Or they're going to tell you that you got to be crazy. Well, they might. But here's the cool thing. You're going to survive it. But then you find out ultimately, most of the time, that doesn't happen anyway. So from this firm footing, you're now empowered and prepared to learn and lift yourself up as you discover the various things that we all do as human beings to undermine our potential. You're prepared to be gentle on yourself, and this is a big piece, a big piece. A lot of us spend our lives beating ourselves up. I want you to, from here forward, stop beating yourself up. Stop it. It's time that you become empowered and you're gentle on yourself. A lot of us are gentle on our children, gentle on our parents, gentle on all this, but we're hard as heck on ourselves. Now let's learn what these things are. Let's take that first step into making 2011 abundant and making you empowerment. And I want you to know that I didn't say, and I want to empower you. I want to make you empowerment. There's a difference. I want you to be empowerment. Because in the space of being empowerment, there's only room for it. In the space of empowerment, there's no room for doubt or fear. Here's the core stoppers. Now, one of the things that I want everybody to be aware of is the intricacies. The way the core stoppers work is that they become so much a part of the way we think that we can't see them. And by the way, as we go through the next several slides here and through the remainder of this presentation, I've got a really cool free offer for you and an opportunity for you to move further into all this and to understand this better so that you can move forward by tomorrow morning, not 6 months from now, not 6 years from now, but to help take the quantum leap into your success, to get you from where you are now to where you want to be. So the way that these core stoppers work is that we can't even see them. They rarely, and for many of us, ever reveal themselves. Like Neo in the Matrix, you may have had fleeting glimpses, insight into knowing that you weren't living from a place of power or even true freedom. Understanding these core stoppers, what they are and how they work, gives you power and freedom. And I know darn well that we could all use more of both. Here's what the 5 core stoppers are. Number 1, the Fulb syndrome, and that's going to follow. Number 2, social constraints, that'll follow. Number 3, the ADA syndrome. Number 4, the imposter syndrome. And number 5, the OMT paradox. All those are in the free download forthcoming. So my hope at this moment is that everybody is wide awake. Got a little picture of a cup of coffee there to remind you I just need you awake because this is stuff you need to think about. It is guaranteed the stuff that's keeping you from moving to where you want to go. I have no doubt in my mind. So here's the first one. Number 1, the Fulb syndrome. A man sitting in a restaurant gets up and walks calmly into the restroom. 15 minutes later, a restaurant customer finds him laying dead on the bathroom floor. How's that for a wake-up call for you? Cause of death, asphyxiation. He choked to death on a chicken bone. Not only is this a true story, but the man represents perfectly the unwritten rule that under no circumstances are we to show weakness, to look bad, to not be everything that we want everybody to believe we can be. It represents perfectly that unwritten rule in this culture that under no circumstances are we to show those kind of weaknesses. Imagine that, his need to look like he was in total control, that he was strong, rather than raise a ruckus to save his life. He instead decides he's going to do the proper thing. He doesn't want to put anyone out, wouldn't want to be a bother, and figures, I got this one, I'll handle it. You see, the agreement in most civilized cultures is you need to look, at least on the surface, like everything is okay. You wouldn't want to look bad. Think about it. Most of us won't even sing in the shower. Most of us won't even sing in the shower, in our own homes, in the privacy of our own homes, for fear of looking bad. If we hold back on the fun things in life for fear of looking bad, think of the things that involve a higher liability: buying real estate, a bigger risk, rehabbing a home, purchasing something that may not work out. If we avoid singing in the shower, what other things are we avoiding? And that's just an example. I mean, I could go on with all the things that people avoid just so they don't look silly. Have you ever seen anybody in the supermarket that you know from high school and you just kind of turn and walk away, even though you're friends with them on Facebook? So,
Right.
But you won't confront them individually. How much of our behavior is centered around our fear of looking bad? How much do we remove from our realm of possibility? These core stoppers are, in essence, like filters on a camera lens. We lay them on top of the lens, boom, 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 one at a time. And though we think we're seeing the full picture, what we're actually seeing is a fear-filtered reality. How does it affect our financial, spiritual, emotional, physical, and mental life? How has it kept you from growing your business, your real estate business? How has it kept you from growing your children's education, the relationship with your family, your own business, whatever it is? We procrastinate and doubt because we fear. We procrastinate and doubt because we fear the unknown. We gravitate to the known because we think we're more likely to be able to manage the outcome. And often, and this is a big piece, everything I say is a big piece, by the way, so I want you to all know that now. None of these sentences are crafted to be, only have like 50% power. They're all 100% power. So we gravitate to the known because we think we're more likely to be able to manage the outcome. And often it may be true, but that management comes at a big expense. That management comes at the expense of you living full throttle and experiencing the life that you were meant to live, outside the confines of your fear and doubt. Today, I want you to take a step out of that place of fear and doubt, out of that swamp, and get outside the bottle of your fear and read the label from the outside. I don't know if you've ever heard that one. It's really hard to read the label if you're on the inside, but a lot of us live our lives inside the bottle, and we can never see what's really going on. These core stoppers, two of which I'm going to share with you in some detail right here in this webinar, come out in business like this, not making an offer on a property, but instead meeting with seller after seller after seller until finally we quietly sneak out of that business into the next big thing. How does it look in business? We get one good lead, one exciting opportunity, and we soak up the high on that for as long as we can. I remember when I first was starting to look into buying real estate, actually the second time I started doing it, but I started doing it a little more aggressively. First time I did it, it was just one house, boom, boom, and it was done. But the second time when I really went back into it, like several years later, I remember freezing up, just not doing deals, not making offers, because I was petrified. I was scared. It was an unknown situation, and we all want to stay on the island of known because it's safe, and we get to breathe air. We get to breathe the air every morning when we wake up. That's a pretty big reinforcement. And when you look at the fear of unknown, what it's really tied to, which is the fear of death. So, they're completely, that's if you were to drill it down from a psychological perspective, the fear of the unknown is tied to the fear of death, period. So, sometimes we'll take a lead like that. We got a really exciting lead, and we'll tell all our friends and family, but yeah, I'm looking at this one right now. I got a 3-bedroom over in Troy, and it's a really cool place, and the seller, he's got to get out. He's not even living in the state right now. We'll tell everybody about it. And we'll try to build a reputation on what we're going to do, not on what we've actually done. And by the way, the guy that choked on that chicken bone, let's really boil it down to what the truth is of that whole thing. He choked on his fear. He didn't choke on a chicken bone. He choked on his fear of looking bad. Because if he didn't have that fear, he would have not have died from choking. What else are we afraid of? What else are we not doing for fear of looking bad? So keep in mind that, this desire to look bad, to always be in control, impacts a big piece of our life, huge piece of our life. Go on to the next slide.
As a practice, can we do this? Just go outside and do something crazy, like the other day I painted my nails. I was bored.
You did.
Waiting for my nephews. I painted my nail pink, by the way. It's a color. And or do something crazy like maybe not as bad as going outside naked, but I was telling my wife, I was like, you know what? I'm speaking at an event here coming up in at the end of the month here in March. Maybe I'll go with and I'll dye my hair blue, and I'll make a mohawk out of it, and I'll speak at the event with that style. It's like really getting out of your comfort zone, getting out of your fear.
Well, what's kind of funny on that, Tim, is that I think that what might be an even bigger show of your strength or a way for you to bust through that barrier of fear or doubt or whatever is to tell 1,000 people on a webinar that you painted your nails pink. I mean, what the heck? Nobody has to know you did it. But here's the cool thing. Here's the cool thing, Tim. This is why I know I'm talking to a dude that's been there, done that. Because you're not afraid to say that. How many people would tell other people that they painted their nails pink if they were guys in their own house? You know what I mean? I mean,
right.
See, you don't care because you've been through the ringer. You know what I mean? You've had the tough times and survived it. And that's what's really cool. Anybody listening to this call right now, you're that much better off because you're a survivor. You're on the phone. You're a survivor. You got a computer in front of you. You're a survivor. You survived yesterday. Pretty cool. And I got a feeling that you could survive if you bought some real estate too. You could survive if you bought. And the cool thing about places like DoDeals.com and working with me at tdannichols.com and all this stuff is that we're here to help you. We've made the mistakes. We've been afraid. I don't know if you were ever afraid, Tim. And then Frederick, because, But I mean, come on, we've all had the fears, But I mean, I look at Tim's story. I mean, who could be? How does it get any tougher than that? You come over on a fishing boat, and then you're raided by pirates and left with no clothes.
Right.
I mean, that's an amazing story. I mean, something not working out in real estate pales in comparison to coming over here like that. That's amazing. That's amazing. So with all this being said, the fear of looking bad being the number one, and I love to distill stuff down, which is why I'm the tactical advisor here. I want to find out what it is that's keeping you from making the moves, I love to distill stuff down. It's really not even the fear of looking bad, but I made a really bad acronym. I mean, FOLB is really bad in itself because it's hard to say, but it'd be the FOFB, F-O-F-B. It's the fear of feeling bad. I don't really care if somebody sees me with my nails painted pink up on stage with a blue mohawk, okay? I don't really care about that. What I really hate is how it makes me feel. It's how it makes me feel. I don't like having to contend with those feelings. You see, because that's deeper than the looking. It's the feeling that you get from looking that you really despise. You don't like the way you don't like the chemicals released in your body and all that other stuff that make you feel horrid. So if fear of looking bad is the number one fear in our culture, then let's think about the business side of this. Could it fuel a business? Well, here's a few things that it could fuel. Here's one right here, widescreen TV. Here's another one, pharmaceuticals. Another one, fast food. Another one, shopping. I know my wife, when she's feeling down, depression therapy for her is get out the credit card and go shopping. Glass of wine, bottle of beer. All those things help us feel bad. The most addictive thing in the world isn't all this stuff. And these are all, by the way, things that we would call addictions. Food addictions. There are people with shopping addictions. There are couch potato addictions that just sit and watch TV all the time. People that drink all the time. People that pop pills all the time. They're not addicted to anything. What they're addicted to is the feeling that those things give them. It's comfort that they're addicted to. That's the number one addiction in the world is comfort. Because it's the opposite. It's the polar opposite of looking bad and therefore feeling bad. People take drugs, drink, self-medicate with food because it makes them feel good. In my home, I'm often reminded as I turn on the television at 9:30, 10, 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, whatever it is, that's why I'm doing it, because I just want to chill out. I just want to relax. I want to unwind my mind. And sometimes that's one of the ways that I do it. But I'm very aware that's why I'm doing it. I'm not hooked into the addiction cycle of all that. I don't watch TV for 3 or 4 hours a day, 6 days a week. And I also know that when I turn on the television for my 5-year-old daughter, I'm turning it on for a reason. I call it visual heroin. You know, if I'm buying the escape, it's going to chill her out. That's what it does. It completely chills her out. And anybody that's got kids knows that the television set can be a really amazing way to buy some peace and quiet. So, looking at all that stuff, you got to understand the psychological issues behind all that stuff. Being aware of when these core stoppers have you in a stranglehold is when you get the chance to be a cause in the say of your life. Being aware is the critical piece to overcoming the effects of these core stoppers and living a life of empowerment so that you can pursue the things that you were meant to pursue and live a life that you were meant to live. Now, the thing you need to get clear on is if you want to live with more peace, power, and freedom, if you want to live like that, you need to know this next thing right here. Here we go. Next slide. Did it pop up, Tim?
Mm-hmm.
Growth demands discomfort. Whether the growth is a good, healthy growth or a not-so-good growth. Notice that there's elastic in the waistband here. Elastic makes the growth more tolerable because without it, it wouldn't feel so good. Elastic allows growth to be more tolerable and not always, and as you can see from the picture, that's not always a good thing. Now consider the antidote, or the thing that seems like the antidote to feeling bad. That's image management. Many of us spend our days not in growth management, but in image management. We want all those around us to think that everything is just fine. Our desire to maintain this false reality, or some of us will want everybody in the world to think that life is just miserable. I mean, I see that on Facebook. Just flip on Facebook and look for the people that are constantly posting how, bummed they are about this and that and the other. Our desire to maintain this false reality that everything's great, this anxious state that says, I'm looking good, I'm under total control, I'm on top of it, how bad we need to look this way is in direct proportion to the risk that we're willing to take. If this is strong in our minds and imaginations, we'll rarely take the risk necessary to win because losing control means you may look bad. Let me say that one more time. How bad we need to look this way, as in, I'm fine, I got it, don't worry about me, all that stuff, is in direct proportion to the risk that we're willing to take. The people listening in right now, watching this webinar, and they're telling they don't need any help with their business. Oh, I'm just fine. That's all ego talking. You're not just fine. If you've been thinking about it for more than a few days and haven't done anything, then it's probably because you need to work on some of these issues. Because losing control means you may look bad. You'll be pulled out of your comfort zone. And that, in a nutshell, is why we tend to do the same things every day. We survived yesterday, and this reinforcement, as I said earlier, of breathing air, that reinforcement day after day provides a security that few of us care to challenge. And I want you to know that looking bad is a general term, and it covers all sorts of different feelings: humiliation, self-doubt, loss of control, being proven wrong, being exposed, meaninglessness, having your ego bruised, all that stuff. And as I always like to say, because I remember the day that I wasn't, inside we're all still afraid that we're going to be the last to get picked for the kickball team. By the way, we played kickball in the 70s. To some of you that don't know what kickball is. My U-turn. When is the right time to work on you? When will that be? I'm going to share with you all something. It's rather personal. A few years ago, a buddy of mine and I, Chris, had lunch together. And after eating lunch together, we were out in the parking lot. We hadn't caught up in a long time. We were just sort of talking a little bit more in the parking lot. He said, Dan, you've got the wisdom and the skills, but when are you going to start playing bigger? When are you going to take it to the next level? He said, when are you finally going to work on you? You see, Chris saw me thinking big, but playing small. In fact, he was one of a couple people that had made a similar comment to me over the last couple of years. I had some average success along the way, but what I really wanted in my career life is what I'm doing right now at this moment. I wanted to share with others all that I had learned. That was the day that I booked this event with Tim, believe it or not. That was that day. He didn't know it yet at the time, but that was where I was headed. That was the day when that question was posed to me. And I want to ask you a question. When will you take a U-turn? When will you make the decision that this life is for you to be all that you can be, to play large and to stay motivated? When will you take your U-turn? Don't let what in most cases is a municipal norm, What I mean by that is we know that it's illegal to take U-turns, but that kind of psychology actually manifests itself internally into our psychology as well. It's okay to take U-turns. It's okay to say, oh, I screwed that up and go back. It's completely okay. Don't let, again, what in most cases is a municipal norm creep in and eat at your personal development. U-turns are totally legal on the road to a better life. And I don't even know if they're U-turns. It's just really a continuum, a forward, direction. It's all part of life. We go through things, we pick ourselves up, and we move forward again. So you can have a life of more freedom and power. You can begin having more say in your life. It's your turn, as I like to say, for a U-turn. So one of the things that Chris said to me, just to share with you a personal testimonial here, is he said, Dan, I don't think it's fair. I've been in coaching for several years and listened to a lot of speakers, been to a dozen of coaching seminars, read several hundred books, and still walked away with some really great wisdom. What he was sharing with me here was just pretty simple. He said, Dan, what you share with people isn't just for entrepreneurs, because my whole thing was it's around entrepreneurship, but it's also around anybody, anywhere in life, period. That's just the way it is, because psychology is psychology. It applies to us all. And I'm now going to move on to the next piece, and that is core stopper number 2, social constraints. One day, actually, while I was doing the audio for this book, recently renamed to Getting Unstuck, as I've already shared, I had something more revealed to me, another core stopper. My wife and I were driving to my sister's house, and as I pulled into the subdivision where she lived, I remember feeling this sort of, oh, well, poor me thing rattling around inside my head. And when that happens to me, I look at it like stepping in a pile of horse crap. I pick it up and I look at it. I want to know, what is it? What is it? I want to know what it is that's impacting me at that point in time. So I studied it. That's that being awake and being conscious piece. I studied that feeling, and I can tell you it didn't come from an I'm not worthy mindset. It came from another lie, a lie that I told myself that that these people were not like me. They were somehow better than me, a lie that told me that I didn't belong. What I felt could easily have been mistaken for a different core stopper, ADA syndrome. But what it really was this one I outlined here called the hidden caste. I had this belief that somehow, where my sister was living and my brother-in-law was, just they were better off, and, that this is just the way it was. It was just some BS story in my head. You see, there's a belief in the USA and other cultures as well that we have economic classes but not necessarily social castes, like India, for example. There's a belief underlying here in the U.S. that we live in a meritocracy. A meritocracy is a place in which one gets what he or she earns. And all of us know plenty of people, either personally or through others, that live some pretty amazing lives and have done little to nothing to earn it. We also know people that really work hard but can't seem to get ahead. It's a myth to think that our class system in North America is just about money, and neglect that it encompasses a lot more. So I came up with something I call the clasitational pull. It's the strength that this core stopper, hidden caste, can exert on us. And that's C-L-A-Z-Z-I-T-A-T-I-O-N-A-L. It's clasitational. In other words, your class. It's another reason why most pro athletes within just a few years of leaving pro ball have nothing to show for their effort. And it's not because they're stupid. It's because a lot of them don't feel they were worthy. And that's not where I belong. That's not where I belong. They don't have a sense of belonging because many of them spent way too many years living in the space of scarcity, not abundance. They didn't understand this being abundant thing. They didn't know how to have it. So they, almost like the way a body rejects an organ, they reject it. Number 2 is psychological inheritance, and I'll actually talk about something I call the pot roast. By the way, these all fall under core stopper number 2, social constraints. These are subcategories. The reverse imposter syndrome, and also the next one, the Petrie prophecy. And just a kind of a funny thing here, I know even in the Motor City where we're proud of the Chevys and the Fords and the Chryslers, we got this kind of funny thing. There's a community here really close by that's a very upscale community, and it's funny. The right-of-way goes to what we kind of laugh. The German vehicles get the right-of-way. So 4 people pull up at the sign all at the same time, all on a 4-way intersection, and they wave on the Mercedes. I've seen it with my own 2 eyes more times than I care to count, but that's all part of this hidden caste thing. So let me share the pot roast story with you. I call it psychological inheritance, and it goes like this. How far away are any of us from the psychology of our Depression-era grandparents? How far away is an African American from the psychology of slavery? 3, 4, 5 generations? All of us are still pulled in some fashion to the psychology of our ancestors and our caste. kind of one-on-one psychology would call that modeling at some level. But in an effort to save time, I'm going to tell you a story so I can kind of cut right to the quick of this one. I had a professor in college. She shared the story with the class. Since then, I've just so you all know, I've heard it in other ways. So I don't even know if it was a true story, but it was a good one. She'd gone over to her daughter's for dinner on a Sunday, and her daughter was putting a large roast in the oven. She watched as her daughter cut it in half and placed half the roast in one pan and 50% of it, the other half of it, in another. She could tell that the pan was plenty big, our professor could tell, to fit both halves, and she asked her daughter, "Honey, how come you cut it in half like that?" Daughter replies, "Mom, that's what you and Grandma always did." Our professor replied to her daughter, "Honey, Grandma's stove was too small for a whole roast on one rack," because back then stoves were smaller. "And I didn't have a pan big enough for the entire thing. You do." So I ask all of you, what might you be doing halfway as a result of what you learned? What stuff rattling around in your head is 2, 3, 4, or more generations old? Just because you don't see it doesn't mean that you don't have the same filters on your eyes that your grandparents did. That's the nature of filters. You're supposed to see the end result, the effect. They're supposed to affect your perception and therefore your reality without you even knowing that they're there. If you think the pot roast is the only thing that she learned from her grandmother, think of the things that went unquestioned, things that never even entered into the radar. She didn't even see them. What are the things we're taking as the way it's supposed to be? So I ask you this, if cooking methods are 2 generations deep, 3 generations deep, 4 generations deep, and so forth, how deep does our view on politics go? Race, religion, morality, fear, health, pain, sexism, finances, relationships, and joy? How about this one? Boys will be boys, or girls should be ladylike. And I ask you this question, are girls being ladylike when they pursue multiple careers, start businesses, or outwork any man? Shouldn't they just grow up and get married so that they can have true security? So, I mean, it's just, those are those things in our culture, these cultural agreements. You know, women should be ladylike, but I ask you, when was ladylike defined? Right. So, what's that, Tim?
No, I was just agreeing with you.
Yeah. I mean, you know, think about when these things are defined, because they all put us into these, they pigeonhole us. They put us in there, and a lot of times we don't even think twice about it. And the thing with boys, think about it. Well, boys will be boys. I mean, even at a young age, boys are given this sort of prescription, you know, by their parents, like, well, they're just going to do what they're going to do. It's a lot bigger. They have a lot bigger universe. And I've had women that said, oh, totally, completely agree with me. I mean, so this is not just pulling this out of my hat. So Lisa says here, she says, Dan, I found out about you from an interview with Debbie LaChusa. Debbie's a marketing expert. And I was, anyway, she said, Dan, I ended up being so intrigued, I purchased your audiobook. And I just want to let you know, when I first listened to it, it was real apparent to me that the Fulb syndrome and the authority approval stopper applied to me. But with each additional listen, I find little bits of each stopper that apply. See, that's the thing. It takes time. You don't just listen to it one time and say, oh, that's it. I totally get it and understand it. You listen to it over and over through different life experiences. You engage at different times, and you get different pieces of it. That's why you listen to it a few times, because every time you'll get more out of it. She said, Dan, one of them is a social constraint. She says, I never felt socially constrained by society in general or by any of the men in my life. So I kind of discounted that one for me. But listening the other day, I finally realized that my mother was the one who sent the message to me and my 2 younger sisters that we girls didn't need to worry about college or career because some man was going to take care of us, and life was too hard for us to handle. And then she says, Dan, it's hard to swallow that the message of girls' dreams and aspirations for themselves don't count. And then it came from another woman, my own mom. Now I ask you this, all of you listening right now to this webinar, do you think mom really intended to do that, to screw up the daughters, to say things like that? No, she didn't see it. She was handed that from her mother. That's what I'm saying. This stuff gets passed on generation to generation. So and then she goes on to say, as a wellness coach, fitness trainer, and reflexologist, I've explained the importance of being aware of my clients' behaviors for years, and that being aware of it is the first step to overcoming it. So just to give you kind of like a little piece of that from one of the people that had listened to the audio. So these little PowerPoint effects. The reverse imposter syndrome, which is another one of the core subcategories of the core stoppers under social constraints, is in the audio download. I won't touch on that one just to keep this within the time frame, but again, that's available to you free. Towards the end, I'll share that with you. I'm now moving on, and the Petrie prophecy is in there also as well. We're now on to this one. I call it the undercurrent. Core stoppers aren't too visible to the naked eye. All these things I share, these different things, and I've just shared a couple of them with you today. I'd argue only that the ego's fight to not just thrive but survive is so adept that unless you seize the moment when exposed to these core stoppers, all of them, your life will keep going the way it's been going. It's not an issue of doing life wrong, but learning to live it fuller and choosing to become red pill aware. And the work that I put into getting unstuck comprises years of introspection because it's what I do. I want to better understand why, where, and how I hold myself back. The process fascinates me. It fascinates me because I grow in power and freedom the more aware of it I become. And why I show a picture of a river here is because a lot of us see our lives on the surface, and we expose to others and ourselves barely more than just the surface there. And a lot of us spend a lot of time and energy understanding maybe about a new business strategy or how to do this or that, but we don't take the time to understand ourselves. Today you've got that opportunity to take the step to knowing more about you. On your behalf today, I'm breaking those agreements that you've made with fear and doubt and procrastination. And as Morpheus says to Neo in the movie Matrix, today you can begin your journey to realize your ultimate potential. You just have to choose which pill, red or blue. Most of the action, as you see here on the river, is happening under the surface. We think it's all up on top. We see the top. But analogous to a river, we only pay attention to the surface. Riverbeds are being carved out underneath there. Wildlife is being moved, chased, created, and destroyed. Volcanic action is making the river bigger and smaller. The Earth's crust is expanding and contracting and being eroded. Are you willing to work from the bottom up to improve your life, to meet some goals, and make today the day that you bounce back? Make today the day that you pulled a U-turn on the road to a more empowered life? Are you willing to work on you, not next week, not next year, but now? Because that's all you really have. So there's so much that we can learn about ourselves, and I can only cover so much on a 70-minute webinar, but I want all of you to know that these core stoppers are the beginning of the journey into what truly holds us back. So if you want to grow that business, these are the things you need to look at. When you listen to the audio, it'll begin a process for you of introspection. It'll start to build context around the things that you do in your life to keep you held back. And remember, it's not motivation. Motivation is sugar water. This is triple mocha caffeinated latte. And my greatest gift, as always, is to get a call from one of you 20 days from now saying, Dan, or 30 days from now, or a year from now, or 2 years from now saying, thanks for sharing your passion with me. I made my first offer on a little 3-bedroom. Or Dan, after listening to your audio, I decided I was chasing, what I was chasing for a business vision was the biggest part of my struggle. That business wasn't for me. I love when people have those revelations. And they say, Dan, I actually fell back in love with my job as a school teacher, and I'm learning to take better care of myself and my students. I ask you, when will you take a stand for you? Everybody listening right now has to ask themselves this question. Am I sick and tired of being sick and tired? Am I ready to make a move at improving my journey now, not next week or next year? This stand I took, the stand that I took, was to help people recognize their passions and overcome self-defeating mindsets. What's your stand? What's your stand today, right now? Will you make this the moment that you made the choice to turn it around? Will this be the day that that scuba diver never had? Will you break the chains of procrastination, fear, and doubt and work on you? I just added this here recently, this next slide, so I want to share this with you. One more piece, and it's really another webinar altogether, but I'm going to give you the nutshell version here. You need to be really clear that what we do and where we go in our life is tied to the habits that we make and break. When we live our life on purpose, in a conscious fashion, aware that every choice we make has ramification, it changes the game. We all sit at the banquet of our consequences every single evening. Now I show a big banquet here on the left and an empty table on the right. We sit at the banquet of our consequences every single evening. And if I spend the morning surfing the internet, checking email, reading Facebook posts, researching the next big project, looking up old friends, visiting YouTube to make sure I know the lyrics to the latest song, reading a list of the greatest movie lines ever, in short, doing all the things that keep me from completing the things that will truly move my business forward, then tonight I'll face that truth as I dine on my consequences. Tonight, I'll have strengthened the muscle of an average life and decreased further the chance that tomorrow I'll work the muscles that don't matter. In doing all these things, I'm avoiding the saber-toothed tiger. You see, your brain knows no difference with that fear. Living in what seems like a more comfortable way. Doing these mundane things that don't move the mountains but only have me going around them in a circle weakens me. It doesn't strengthen me. So if you've been at it for 2-3 years and you've got one property or maybe no properties, this is for you newbies that just haven't done it. Or you people that are playing small, that maybe have 4 or 5 and want to have 25 or 500 homes or properties. Think about the things that you're doing that are not contributing to the growth of your business. What are the actions you're taking that are not producing the results? Producing the results is going out and knocking on doors. Producing the results is making physical offers with pen and paper. Producing the results is going out and networking with, as I did when I was buying more property, was networking with attorneys and bankruptcy attorneys and divorce attorneys and things like that, where they were in situations to send great referrals. So know that doing these mundane things won't move the mountains, but it'll only have you going around them in a circle. Emotions are the result of a thinking habit, and emotions are exactly like muscles. The more you use them, the more they strengthen. So you need to break the shackles that these low productivity habits have on you and strengthen the high productivity habits. I'm going to ask you, what's your stand today? Who cosigns your paycheck? Fear or courage? Who cosigns your paycheck? Fear or courage? Who's going to settle your estate? Regret or triumph? Who? Who's going to settle your estate? Yes, you listening right now, staring at the screen. Who's going to settle your estate? Regret or triumph? So your stand. I hope like heck that caffeine is kicked in, especially for those West Coasters, because you've got some work to do. I have no doubt that you've got some work to do. And this next piece I'm going to share with you is going to be just a tad deeper, and then we're going to go to we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. And as I say deeper, I hope that up till now you've been listening in and paying attention. I believe that all of us have a purpose. For me personally, I'm really clear on what that is. I'm not going to share it on this webinar because, frankly, it's a whole new discussion. I am, however, sharing this next piece because one of the reasons that we fail to really go after our dreams is because we have an integrity that's intrinsic to our being. In other words, we have this piece inside of us that we can't get rid of it, and it's an integrity, and we want to do the right thing, and we want to go in the right direction. We have an internal compass that points us in a direction that may or may not include being a lean and ripped 150 pounds, running a triathlon, starting a business, getting our master's, owning 3 homes, and so forth. We know that our true north exists, but for one reason or another, we can't seem to get clear on what it really is. So we lay awake at night looking for that answer. And maybe we have trouble getting out of bed in the morning because we haven't found the answer. What in the hell am I supposed to do with my life? Is a fundamental human curiosity, and it should be. In my audio download, Getting Unstuck, which I'm going to share the link to that just in a minute here, a couple minutes, the investment that you'll be offered is for yourself. It's in yourself. And I address in detail what I call the success formula. It's an analysis of what 3 variables all successes have in common. It's the formula success demands in any endeavor. I didn't develop it. It's a universal law. So I'm going to give you a small piece of that first half on why so many people wander around confused, and understandably so. And that may be you listening right now. You may be barking up the real estate tree thinking, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to do. Well, ultimately you find out that maybe that's not what you wanted to do. I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. Number 1, passion. Passion's what gets you out of bed in the morning. It's the flame of persistence. Purpose, though, I firmly believe, to my core, often gets confused with passion. We think that one is the other. And I'm sharing this with you because a lot of times I hear people say, Dan, I just don't know what my purpose is. And they'll tell you what their passion is, but they won't necessarily tell you what their purpose is. So we feel a passion and can't understand how it's a purpose. Well, it's because it's not. Purpose is a guiding principle. Purpose is the top of the mountain, if you will. Many of us call something a purpose to explain a passion that we can't. We use purpose because we haven't faced that one down. We haven't sat down to truly define what our purpose is. For example, I have a few ideas of why I'm passionate about you as an entrepreneur or a real estate investor. I've had major moments in my life that I believe fostered my passion for entrepreneurship. Often, though, and this is a big caveat, we'll be passionate about something and have no reason why. We just don't know why. I think that that's a divine spark that makes us all different. Why do I share this with you? Because there's reasons people are stuck. the psychology stuff that I address, the five core issues, and the thing that we wrestle with is our purpose and our passion. I believe that's what has us stuck and not moving forward. And many of us screw ourselves up when we live the lives defined by the media, or we're living the lives defined by somebody else's passion, not ours. So find out what that passion is. I provide a number of clues as to how to do that in my audio, Getting Unstuck, but I implore you to find out what your passion is. Not someone else's version, not what your parents or your grandparents wanted you to be, but your passion. That's your gift to the world. That's you doing you authentically. When you discover your passion, you'll find the purpose that unites us all. So here's what I'm ready to give you. I'm going to share with you exactly where to go for that. The audio download, Getting Unstuck. In it, you'll discover and conquer the 8 psychological issues holding us all back from living a fuller life. So I address the 5, what I call the core stoppers, the things that hold us back, keep us stuck. And then I address the imperatives to success. So the 5 plus the 3 equals 8. And I'm also going to include the power of belief. What we perceive is first based on what we believe. So basically, that's some really cool stuff. A friend of mine, Chris, that guy that I'd had that conversation with in the parking lot that day, and where I made that turn, that U-turn, this is something Chris is throwing in here. It's awesome. So you get both of those things. I go on to the next page here, and the next slide. You're going to get all 28 tracks as an MP3 download. Is it a $10,000 value? Totally, probably $10 million value. Because all these things are what make people money at some point when they can get through this stuff. And right now, for a limited time to everybody, it's free. Here's all you got to do to go get it. Open your web browser, visit blog.tdannichols.com, provide your email, and I only ask one thing from you, that you share the link on Facebook. Just share it. Post it on, post that link to blog.tdannichols.com, and that'll help me out, help me grow my business, and at the same time, help you grow your business.
That's awesome.
And with that, I will leave that as the last slide, and we got Tim on the line.
Yeah, I appreciate you greatly for for the training that you've done today, and also for your generous gift of giving everybody the audiobook and also the Power of Belief ebook as well. Appreciate you greatly for that. I'm sure the folks on the line also appreciate that greatly as well. And so you guys make sure you go there, take advantage of it. Check out Dan's blog, their blog.tdannichols.com, and visit it often. Dan is an amazing teacher, and the more and more I get to know Dan, the more I learn of how creative this guy really is, and how much of a genius he really is, and the things that he shared with you are really powerful stuff. I know that it might have went over some of your head, and you might have to watch this the second or the third time to really understand it a little bit more. But I mean, what he taught you sometimes it sounds a little bit too fundamental, but that's how that's how things are. It's those fundamental things, those fundamental shifts that is going to it's going to help you, propel you to the next level. And as human nature, we tend to look for the difficult things, right? We look for the shiny objects, or the things that we feel like it should be not so obvious to us.
Shortcut.
Shortcuts, right? But it's those obvious things, it's those fundamental things that's going to make a huge impact in your life. That's going to change your life, and that's what I love about Dan's teaching. So highly recommend you guys go check out his blog, and make sure you take advantage of his audio book. I guess audio program there for you. I mean, I know he used to sell that, and so it's very generous of him to give that to you as a gift. So take advantage of it.
Cool. Thank you, Tim.
Yeah, and so with that, with that, I want to thank all of you guys for being on this training and watching this. And Dan, thank you so much, buddy, for doing this training with us. And I'm always looking forward to more training from you, for sure.
Good, good. Yeah, and I'm looking forward to helping to deliver more tactics to get, as I say, the boots on the ground, to get you guys out there doing what you need to do to make it happen, whatever that looks like, whether it's buying your first one or your 100th property, whatever that looks like, we're here to help you. So.